Hey there, Kaleidoscope Clan. How's everyone doing? It's Mariposa Maát. Just finishing some exercise and wanting to come on because something's been really heavy on my mind lately, and that is the level of mental illness in America overall. And I can talk about some details overall about America, but it's been really clear to me that the Black community in America is especially mentally ill. And I am saying that with the utmost respect, recognizing that I myself, I'm not mentally ill. However, our reality is so crazy that it pushed people to the brink, just having to deal with such a crazy reality and being targeted so much, unnecessarily, just not being able to just live a life without there being so much negativity all the time, so much drama, and being intentionally undermined. As a community, it is something that's nothing new at all. It's been a constant reality being in the United States, even with the things that people consider to be breakthroughs. It's just there are, different false displays, but in reality, I would say even in the communities that claim to be, so much for, Black people, Black and brown people, unrepresented people or whatever, a lot of it is a farce. It makes people feel good in the moment, but they wouldn't want to really make things fair and correct. And it's really taken its toll. It's extremely sad. I grew up as a child in the 80s and 90s. And during that time, there were some things that were still in place that now we're like completely losing. People have lost just all sense these days. And we can just look at some of the biggest celebrities and artists that are African American as a good example. For the most part, almost all of them have shown themselves to be pushed to the brink in different ways. And they were intelligent people, but it's really where you're surrounded by such madness and it is put on you in such a way that it was inescapable. We can just look at Michael Jackson, whom I adore very much as a child. I especially liked him the younger, he was, because he started to go through, the mental illness of changing himself, claiming that, it was natural, all the different things, the changes that his body, he looked so different that one could even question if he was the same person. And I've heard people who've done that. But as much of a bright light as he was in our community, he couldn't just be a normal person, just live out his life, the way white celebrities can. They can not be shown to go so crazy. Prince, he wasn't crazy, but he went through a time where he had to express how enslaved he felt. And ultimately, both of them were killed, as we know. Whitney Houston definitely, was showing her mental illness with Bobby Brown openly on their reality show. And for sure, she was driven to act the way she was acting because she needed an outlet from the imprisonment that she was living under. You understand? And the reality is that this is how successful Black people feel a lot, because we're forced into a cultural reality that is not our own, and we're subjected to so much racism and disrespect constantly, where people covet who we are naturally. And that can also not just be, because inside of the culture, other Black people start to emulate the same things. So they will also, instead of loving and protecting the people who are great in our communities, they start to want to bring them down to size, the whole crabs in a barrel thing. So we have that for sure. The unity is very shaken. The sexual abuse, which again started from slavery. As far as no matter what, there may be sexual abuse in all societies on some level because of men, but when you're dealing with slavery, you're talking about a different level of sexual abuse, and it goes more into part of just abusing slaves. So that sexual abuse has now turned into, like almost all of the prestigious male groups being down low groups that turn men out, including sports teams, including gangs, fraternities, secret societies. As we see, the whole P. Diddy thing, they put him in that place to perpetuate what they do in the industry. So, we're not talking about the people above Diddy yet. They are not wanting to talk about that. But it is all part of a larger issue that has always existed. You understand? Like, these big, muscular, manly Black men have always been coveted for so many reasons, but as slaves. And, I have heard the analogy between, the sports industry and slavery, how they, it's almost like being on an auction block, the way they trade them and all those kinds of things, but it's also mentally ill for us not to recognize the level of trauma and pain that has never left the Black community. I see a sense of brainwashing as far as how I was raised to think that these things were not going on anymore. And it's as an adult that I realized that it never stopped. It just became more hidden, more subversive. They use the technology of psychology, to groom people, to get them hooked to the money, and then to force them to do things. It's very sad. And then as Black women, there is no protection. There's a big issue, because Black women are targeted by Black men a lot, and again, it's manufactured through the music. It brainwashes Black people and other people to disrespect Black women and women overall. They say things on the radio that no other groups are saying that are totally disrespectful and wouldn't be accepted. And then we have people like Kanye West, Jamie Foxx, people who, they were ambitious to get into the industry, and I guess they were surprised that they weren't all powerful and that they too could be brought down. So Kanye West, he always spoke out, but there was a moment when they took him against his will to be hospitalized. And you can clearly see that he became legitimately crazy at that point. Like his rants, I feel, were controlled, or they did something to his brain, is what I believe. That they gave him a lobotomy or something when they forced him to go into the institution. I don't remember exactly how long it was, maybe about a year or two ago, when it was exposed, when that handler psychologist person wrote him and threatened that they would medicate him so he couldn't see his children anymore if he didn't do whatever under their will, whatever they said. And again, typical slave treatment, where they are determined to subdue, and punish any expression of masculinity, and that, of course, forces Black women to have to fill that role a lot in their families, since we don't have Black men whose focus is to protect and provide. And I'm not saying all, because any Black man who's protecting and providing at this point, after so many generations of oppression, all that, they need to be commended and appreciated so much. So please, I have so much love and appreciation for brown people, Black people, the things that we've been through and pushed through. But there is a limit to how much people can take. We are human beings still. Even if we have a godly aspect to us, we are human beings. And we can be broken with, intense, focus and attack all the time, just like, Malcolm X's mother, who ended up in a loony bin. Yeah, that'll do it. You know what I'm saying? And look how strong he ended up being, and he was killed. And what happened to his children? They actually, he had a grandchild named Malcolm who moved to Mexico, and they killed him too. So, because he was an activist. So it really is a very bleak situation, for all of those people who enjoy sports, who enjoy the music and the dance and the entertainment and the intelligence that Black people continue to produce. You should also, want for Black people to be liberated from this constant situation, because I am just now recognizing also that, just like within my own family, when we talk about mental illness, it is based off of their idea of mental illness. There are a lot of people who can be extremely mentally ill, and as long as they are able to work and make money, they're seen as fine. But some of the most abusive people are the ones who are in power. Some of the most mentally ill people are the ones who are in power, in my opinion. And, as we become more sensitive to what a real life is, a life that God intended for us, we recognize that a lot of these ideas, around work-life balance that we've had are incorrect, because of course slaves never had work-life balance. We're told that we're wrong if we relax. We're told if we're wrong if we focus on our pursuit of happiness, right? And we're told by our own families, because it was dangerous back in the day. We were threatened for having our own will. And so, I have much compassion, for my own parents, for my extended family, for my own siblings. I see lots of signs of people not being able to find happiness within themselves, not being able to turn off the program of slavery in their minds, and not being able to be a healthy family member that can support another family member. They're, always, dealing with certain level of neuroses and certain level of mental disorder. It's normal, and it doesn't go checked by the system, because honestly, if the system did do that level, it wouldn't be able, it's too much for the system to bear. So because all of us have our generational reality is a level of PTSD that is unbelievable, because we're still subjected to stuff today. It hasn't stopped. It's still in our face. People can get killed that look like us, and people will sit around and have intellectual conversations about it. Meanwhile, we're dead. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very sick society, especially inside the United States, but it's racist all over, and we're dealing with these issues all over the world. Obviously, just look at the headlines. And it just needs to stop. We are facing a mental health emergency in the United States. Black people, white people too, but I'm just not talking about them right now. They are the cause. So, they came with the mental illness when they hit America in the first place, and Australia and Africa, wherever else they went. But it's high time that, I'm not talking about people not doing anything outwardly. What I'm talking about is understanding that there are repercussions from everything that has happened, and the more that is done to Black people, the more everyone is going to suffer for it in the end, because Black people are powerful, and that power could be used for positivity or it could be used for negativity. And if you create, just like when you have those evil villains, if you create a whole lot of angry people who are powerful, it's going to turn around and affect everyone who sat by and applauded it all along. It is not going to go according to whatever diabolical plans they have. We're not just going to be dying off or subduing. And even with all of the new technologies of, direct energy weapons, or, psychological warfare, social media, food, the food that they've changed so that it affects our genes certain ways, and all these different things. Even while we're hit with everything, it is not going to go as planned. And anyone who's participated in any of these things, I would just offer that, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it would behoove everyone to get right with your spirit, and to know that, if you want to take someone else down, look inside yourself and see what's missing, see what's wrong with you. That's what everyone can do, is turn inward and take care of your mental health first. If someone else is trying to tell you how to be or what to do, if it doesn't sit right with you, don't do it. Do what feels right for yourself, So, I've had to do a lot of radical things in order to stay in balance myself. I wasn't trying to go against anyone. The point was that I'm very powerful intuitively. I have a strong intuition, and I know how I feel. And it's important to me to feel in balance with myself. And So that is why I moved to Africa for 10 years. That is why I'm in Mexico now. And that is why I continue to strive to make the necessary changes to be who I need to be happy with me, you know. But it is work. It is work. It is work to stay balanced in this insane world. So I just wanted to say that, you know, we look on the television and people want to use Black people as a scapegoat, point the finger and all that, but understand that everything you see is a repercussion of what has been done to them and their family line, okay? And we deserve reparations. We deserve resources, time, space, and healing. You know, we deserve therapy. We deserve, you know, just to be able to focus on ourselves instead of constantly trying to survive in a racist environment. So that's all I had to say. My eye keeps watering. That's all I had to say. But I was having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and yeah, we were just acknowledging, it just isn't acknowledged, but mental illness is normal in the Black family based off of what we've had to deal with. I mean, how can it not be if you have powerful, masculine men who aren't allowed to be men, who have to, you know, have sex with other men in order to be successful and stuff like that. That stuff is crazy. So, yeah, that's the reality, though. And we need to deal with it and stop playing with this la. I don't care what celebrity you're talking about. If it's a big celebrity, a Black man, he's dealing with mental illness because of what he's dealing with, okay? All right. So, on that note, I hope this can be received in the peace and love that in which it was transmitted. This is Mariposa Maát reminding you to continue to embody your sacred transformation. Until next time.